President Trump's actions have put that kinship under greater strain today than at any time in our storied history. President Trump wants to break us so America can own us. We are over the shock of the betrayal, but we should never forget the lessons. President Trump's plan is to divide and conquer. Pierre Poilievre's plan is to divide and be conquered. As Danielle Smith has said, Pierre Poilievre is in sync with Donald Trump. At that time, Gander was home to over 10,000 people, and over the course of that day, the people of Gander welcomed more than 38 flights. 68 flights, yeah, that's what I was just saying. It says 38, it's 68. Yeah, exactly, and 6,000 passengers, and Pat helped call them in on that day. Overnight, in effect, the town's population almost doubled. You didn't say no. You didn't complain that you didn't have the resources to help. You showed friendship to people who were fearful. And in crisis, you showed character. When people needed help, you gave it, no questions asked, no expectations attached. It was the right thing to do, the Canadian thing to do, and you did it, and you made us proud. The story of that day soon became legend, immortalized in the Canadian-made Broadway hit musical Come From Away. And it became yet another example of the unbreakable bond between the Canadian and American people. Because when Americans are in need, Canadians have always shown up. Whether during the Iranian hostage crisis, or a few months ago with the California wildfires, or in Afghanistan, where we lost 158 Canadian Armed Forces members and 7 civilians. We showed up. Canada showed up for America. And that was not just in times of calm when it's easy, but in times of crisis when it's hard. Not just when it's convenient, but when it's necessary. We've always been by American side. Canada and the United States are like brothers. And I know something about having brothers. I have 2. We don't always see eye to eye, but when push comes to shove, we're there for each other. Over countless decades, we found a way in true Canadian fashion to disagree agreeably, to choose diplomacy over demagoguery, to put our shared values over our selfish desires. Why? Well, as President Reagan said in Quebec City almost 40 years ago to this day, and I quote, "We're more than friends and neighbors and allies, we are kin, who have together built the most productive relationship between any 2 countries in the world." But that's changed. And it wasn't us that did the changing. Unfortunately, President Trump's actions have put that kinship under greater strain today than at any time in our storied history. President Trump wants to break us so America can own us. And we will not let that happen. We are over the shock of the betrayal, but we should never forget the lessons. We have to look out for ourselves, and we have to look out for each other, just like you did in Gander all those years ago. And that's what my government is doing during this crisis. We're acting to protect workers by using every dollar that we collect from retaliatory tariffs to go to workers. I announced that earlier this week. Because we're stronger when we're together. Because we're all in this together, health care in Canada is a right, not a big business. Because we're all in this together, our government created $10 a day childcare for hardworking families. I had the honor of meeting with Beulah and Diane earlier, Beulah Cooper and Diane Davis earlier, and Diane pointed out how her family and her grandson benefit from that. In fact, the average family in this great province saves about $6,000 because of that program. Because we're all in this together, we created the Canadian Dental Care Plan. Over 3 million Canadians have already signed up. Over 1.8 million Canadians have already been treated. The first patient treated right here in Gander by Dr. Pat Redman. This past Friday, we expanded coverage of that program to over 5 million more Canadians who need it. We're acting by putting more money in Canadians' pockets through a middle-class tax cut that I announced yesterday, a tax cut that will save a two-income family up to $825 a year. We can't afford to let anyone, not American politicians or Canadian politicians, make us angry or divided. As Diane said to me earlier, we can't let them change us. They need to be more like us. President Trump's plan is to divide and conquer. Pierre Poilievre's plan is to divide and be conquered. And his negative slogans aren't solutions. His anger isn't action. His division isn't strength. We know that negativity won't win a trade war. Negativity won't pay the rent or the mortgage. Negativity won't bring down the price of groceries. Negativity won't make Canada strong. We can see where this leads. America's divided, and that is making them weaker. But as we remember here in Gander, that's not our nature. There's a great line from Come From Away when the Mayor, Claude, says, "Tonight we honor what was lost, but we also commemorate what was found." In this crisis, caused by the U.S. President and those who are enabling him, we lament a friendship lost, or at least a friendship strained. But we celebrate the Canadian strength we have reclaimed. And while in Gander, Canadians did extraordinary things for Americans when they needed it, now we need to do extraordinary things for ourselves. We will have to do things that we haven't imagined before at speeds we didn't think possible. And that means building millions of homes, building Canada into an energy superpower, building new trade corridors with reliable trading partners. It means the government spending less so Canada can invest more. It means making big polluters pay instead of hardworking Canadians, and creating one Canadian economy instead of 13. Yet, my opponent, Pierre Poilievre, doesn't get this. He doesn't understand what's needed in a crisis. He doesn't understand that leadership's Canadian want in their time of need. In fact, his language sounds a bit familiar. As Danielle Smith has said, Pierre Poilievre is in sync with Donald Trump.